Yeah? Okay, it's doing. Alright, we're in the green. Cool. Alright. Hi everybody, this is Sarah, and I'm sitting in my living room today working on one of my flocking masks, which is a project I recently announced, like, I think last weekend. I haven't posted any documentation on what my goals are yet, but I'll publish that soon, hopefully. I'm just kind of working on prototypes at the moment, and I'm not entirely sure what I'm doing yet, so I'm still feeling my way out. Um, while I get started on this new thing of mine. I'm working on new stuff. It feels great. It's like a new year or something. Um, but I think I'm gonna wait another minute or two before I explain any further, as usual, just to wait and see if anyone's gonna pop in and keep me company during this session. I'm gonna actually switch the there we go, camera down to the couch so you can see what I'm actually doing. And I'm going to post the link in my Discord. Yay! But yeah, I'm coming out of my birthday weekend, which was this past weekend, and it was a very long, fun but non-stop sort of fun thing, I guess. I don't know. I did a lot of celebrating. I went out with my family and my friends, and I did a lot of relaxing, but I think I spent equal parts lying in bed recovering from all of the drinking that I did out with people. Because my birthday weekend is the same weekend or week or days, whatever. It's the day after St. Patrick's Day, so hello, All Might. So yeah, I've been recovering. Like yesterday, I still think I was maybe partially hungover from all of the stuff that occurred, and I feel it's either the gloominess or something, but I still kind of feel like curling up in bed and not doing anything. But alas, I need to get, I don't know, I need to get some progress in on my stuff. So I started adding, I guess, feathers. I mean, again, I have no idea what I'm going to end up making the feathers out of, and I guess I could probably explain what I'm doing first. Let's do that. Okay, so I'm making masks for each of the members of my flock, which I have 3 close friends that I see regularly, and we're all like vastly different people with different kind of social roles within our little clique, kind of like everyone else's clique, I guess. You have your core group of friends, and I don't know, everyone kind of tends to more or less fit into rough, I don't want to say stereotypes, but there seems to be one of each polar type of personality, like archetype in any group of people. You don't have like 4 of the same exact type of person. I'm kind of taking this concept and combining it with the idea of actual bird flocks, flocks of birds that kind of live within trees in like large, kind of roughly, loosely defined families, and they have their own languages and their own ways of communicating just with the members of their flock. And I grew up with a parrot. Our family pet was a conure, or I say was, he still is. There's a conure named Mango, and my parrot taught me how to communicate with him. So I have this really rich language, this like bird language with my parrot that only him and I speak to one another, and it's part behavior, it's part sound, it's part gesture, it's all of this stuff that seems really silly, but it's very real, and it's something that's stuck with me my entire life, and it is relevant because now that I'm an adult and I'm out in the world around people, I still do these things to humans. These kind of gestury, sound making, additional language cues that I kind of like throw out there, and then strangely enough, the people that I know start making those things back to me is a means of communicating to me, like on a specific kind of flocking level. And it's part conditioning, it's part just sort of defining through action who your flock mates are, in a sense. And this development of, I guess, a individual language or social structure interests me. And these masks that I'm creating are meant to exhibit these same qualities as I'm kind of describing with the gestures and the bobbing and the sounds and everything. So they are going to look bird-like in nature, but I'm trying to stay away from the like specific feather analog. Like I want everything about them to suggest bird, but not be. I'm not shooting for it like 100%. So I'm using whatever materials I have available to me right now in my lab, and I'm creating just, how do I explain? I'm trying to articulate feathers so that when they're actuated, they puff out. If you have ever kind of communicated with a parrot, one of the things that they do when they're happy or excited or, I don't know, feel flirtatious. Hey, Ahmed. Parrots will puff up all of their feathers on their face and on their head when they feel a certain emotion. And when my parrot Mango was happy to see me, or is happy to see me, he just puffs and becomes like 3 times the size as he normally is. And he looks very happy and fluffy, and he has a different set of feathers that he actuates on his head when he's angry. And then when he's scared, like when we run the vacuum, he sucks all of his feathers like really tight to his body and looks really skinny and aerodynamic and like, you know, like a fluid little tiny chicken bone body. And his pupils get really small, but you know that he's scared because he just like shrunk down into this like minuscule little like chicken bone. But these are all things that he communicates with his feathers, and I want to mechanically copy that mechanism on these masks, so whoever the wearer is, based on their facial expressions and their gestures, they'll actually be triggering different sets of feathers on the mask to poof out or go flat. So the thing that I'm developing right here is a set of like feather analogs. They're just like a prototype in a mechanical system that will actually allow them to either stand up or go flat. And I'm working on kind of figuring that out, how that would apply on a curved surface, because these aren't going to be flat, they're going to be on a person's head. So I'm going to have to figure out how to come up with a mechanism that actually does this on a curved surface. So there's added variables thrown in there. But anyhow, so to show you what I've got so far, I can actually probably switch the thing back over since I'm not doing anything down there yet. I've got this doodad right here, which is basically kind of like a petticoat. It's the under seam that is going to have to do with the actuation, and this is going to slide back and forth on poles, one on either side. I've got my friend's face, who I casted last Sunday. I had Tony over, and he was my mask casting specimen. And then I'm working on casting my own face again, and then Mark and Matt's face, who are people that I talk to quite often, or associate with quite often. They're part of my flock. But each one of us is going to have a different mask that actuates in a different way and does different things based on different triggers. So I'm effectively making 4 completely different, unique systems. And I have different, this is kind of because I have different ways of solving the problem of actuating like layers of feathers, and I want to try them all out and see which one works best. The one that occurred to me first, the thing that seemed most obvious, was to have feathers on rows of like a seam, I guess, and then something that would go on top with a channel, kind of like these channels, that when it moved very subtly over the root or the base of the quill of the feather, it would either, you know, force it to lay down flat or kind of prop it up, like standing up straight, depending on whether it was being forced straight up and out through the channel or the channel was actually pushing it back and down. So there's going to be two effective like helms, I guess, that one of them, the one on top, will be mobile and the one underneath will be stationary. And yeah, this is the thing that's going to be doing the actuation when it like moves back and forth. Cool. Hello, stereotypo. And anyone else who's in there and just hasn't spoken up yet, thank you for joining me on this gloomy day. So that's the plan. This is the one that's going on top. I'm working on adding the plumage to the piece that's going to go underneath this. So I want to at least get 2 full rows built up so that I can test the system and see if it works. So if I switch this back down to my bench view, what I'm using right now for the plume, the feathers, are they're packing envelopes that we use for our Kickstarter, but we have like thousands extra of these things, and they're kind of like a foam material. You can see that there. They're thin and they're light, and they actually diffuse light pretty well. So I don't know, I might end up using these for the final form of the mask, but for now it was like the lowest hanging fruit in our lab, so I'm just chopping these up and making feathers out of them. So I'm making individual feather pieces, and then okay, I 3D printed a bunch of, what the hell am I calling these? Quills? So I 3D printed really thin, like narrow quill pieces. And what I'm doing, or what I've been doing, is threading a quill through each one of my foam feathers, and then I'm attaching that to these rows right here that have mounting points on the end, the holes. I'm attaching the completed feathers to this like frame piece with paper tape, which, now that I'm looking around, I have no idea where my paper tape ran off to. Oh, there it is. Actually, I need another roll. So paper tape it's like that stuff that they use in for medical applications. So this is great because it's pretty strong, but it's also very fabric-like, and it can bend easily. And it's just kind of great stuff. It's very thin too. It's very skin-like. So you can kind of layer this if you need to, but I use this to add pages to my sketchbooks if I want to. It makes great binding because it is so thin, but it is, again, very strong because it is like fabric. So I've got that shit. But anyhow, so I'm gonna keep making these feathers. I'm gonna actually grab another roll of tape because I've got like barely anything left on that, and then I'll start. I'll be right back. Don't mean to leave you so soon. Woo! Okay. And I feel like I'm still recovering from whatever I was sick with like 3 weeks ago. Like whatever that was, it's just not gone anywhere, which is horribly frustrating. It's probably the main reason why I feel like I have no energy. But yeah, the way that I'm kind of inserting these quills into the feathers is just this kind of Not that it's hard and not that it takes too terribly long, but it is a process. Like, I've been weaving the quills through the center of the foam at like maybe 1/4 inch spacing, which hasn't been too like difficult because again, like the foam is soft and easy to puncture with just like a tiny piece of plastic like I'm using. But I have to do this for every single feather. So the nice thing about this is I do get to experiment with not only different ways of actuating the feathers on the mask, I also get to come up with a different like visual aesthetic for each one of them. Because I kind of want the look of the masks to sort of map to the wearer's personality. I want it to look like them. I want it to represent them. So I get to kind of meditate on the aesthetic, which is, in a sense, the fun part. Like, once you get all the technicalities nailed down and it's working, then it's like, alright, what are my materials going to be? How far can I push this in this weird direction? The feathers, they're kind of both are taped down. Like at the end, there's kind of a flat edge, and both of those get taped down. I'll show you what I'm gonna do with this like in a second here. So this is like a finished row right here. They hang down in one direction. Oh god. But then I can twist the frame all the way around so that they're actually folded over the top of this frame piece. Kind of difficult to see what I mean. I guess what that means is there's a lot of extra play, I guess, in between where the feather ends and the frame begins, and this is to kind of allow it to move and flop around. And these will be these pieces, oh god, they will be joined together because this is about as long as my printer could print. I need to actually join 2 of these together to get a piece that's going to be long enough all the way around. Kind of like I did here. There's a seam going up the middle. That's partially because of design. It's also kind of because my printer couldn't print a piece that was this long all the way across. There we go. Move that out of the way so you can see what I'm doing. So what I've been doing is move all my shit. Cool. Hey AP Tech. Thank you for joining me this gloomy Tuesday. But yeah. So what I'll do is I'll take a piece of my paper tape that's about yay long, and this stuff's pretty thin and transparent, so you can see it. I'm actually going to stick my feather, like the feather and the quill both, like this. And I'm going to attach it facing the opposite direction with a little bit of space between where the feather ends and the frame begins. And I'm going to fold my tape over. And I'm going to make sure that there's enough space with it pointing this direction that it can flop back and forth freely, like there's nothing binding it up. And then if I'm happy with the amount of, I don't know, breathing space, I guess, that I've given myself, then I can fold it in this direction over the top of the frame And this is the direction that they're all going to point. And this is so that when this frame piece rotates on top of these feathers, which will be threaded through like these holes, these channels, the channels will actually be able to make these stand up easily without there being anything to fight it. I need to remove as much, I don't know, room for friction or materials fighting each other as possible, so making sure that these have some amount of looseness to them where they connect is kind of vital to the whole design working. So I'm just trying to be mindful of that. And I still might need to hone that in after I get this built, based on how it works or doesn't work. But now that I have this one finished, this half of the row of feathers, I can start on the next one. And this will go a bit faster, but I need to cut more of these things. I can get I found that I can get 5 rows of feathers out of each one of these envelopes, and since they are folded in half because they're envelopes, that's 10 feathers, which is great. And I'm just sort of freehanding them right now because, again, this is a prototype and it doesn't have to be perfect. I find that most of the stuff that I make right out of the chute doesn't work, so I don't ever have that expectation that it's going to be exactly what I want right in the beginning. I know better. I've done this long enough. I can pretty safely say that nothing I've ever made has just worked, right out of the chute, right off the print bed after I assemble it. It's I have the idea, I put it together, and there's always some physical aspect to it that prevents it from working in the way that I imagined. And then it's a back and forth sort of thing. However, I have found that after about the 3rd iteration, by the 3rd iteration, I can pretty much work out all the kinks and get it, flying kind of smoothly within that period of time. The 2nd prototype is for solving all the major issues, and by the time you get to the 3rd, you can kind of fine-tune it so that it works like a well-oiled machine, roughly. And that goes for pretty much everything. But yeah, I've got plenty of stuff in my lab right now that is on hold simply because I haven't figured out how to pass that threshold and get the mechanical aspect working. In some sense, the circuitry is the easiest part of getting systems like this going. The thing that's triggering this actually works already. It's wired up on my desktop, and it's good. It does exactly what I want, but that's just one half of it. That's the circuit that's going to trigger the mechanical portion. So now it's all right, Sarah, mechanical, do it, get it to work the way you want. Ready, go. But yeah. Cool. Hi, Pookage. How are you doing? How are all you guys, by the way? Now that it's been 20 minutes or so. What time is it, in your neck of the woods? I know every time I stream, everyone mentions that it's 2 in the morning or 3 in the morning or something totally off from where I'm at. It's 1:30 in the afternoon here in Vegas. And it is a gloomy, nasty looking day. It's Tuesday, so Mark is off, but he's actually got a doctor's appointment right now, so I got the house to myself, which is kind of nice. Oh, man. But yeah, I think the plan for this weekend is I'm having Matt over, and I will be streaming either on Friday night or Saturday night the casting of his phase. And he's also another, easy mode casting, I don't know, specimen, because he also, keeps his hair super short, he shaves his head, so like the mask just pops right off of him, which is great. Anytime I've casted Mark's face or my own, which I've casted my face a lot, it has been effort and suffering to actually detach the mask from my hair. And I could just cover it up with plastic wrap or put a skull cap on. There's like a bunch of shit that I could do. But in spite of putting release agent in my hair to kind of ease the process, it doesn't ever work out as easily as I'd hope. And I end up yanking out hairs or just very slowly and painfully sliding the mask off of all the individual hairs as I just like yank and like hope that it'll just go, it'll detach from me. Okay, so I've got another 20 feathers here now that I've finished cutting these two up. Alright, 20 more of, oh, you guys can't see that. Let me pull my crap out of the way. Alright, I've got 20 more of these guys. Go right here. These are, so these will get used eventually. These are my mounting frame pieces. And Pukage says, oh, AP Tech it's 9:30 p.m. in Malta. 2035, that is 8:30. Cool. What are you cooking for dinner, Pukage? Or 8:30. Or for a snack, or I don't know. It's probably dinner. Stereotypo says it's 4:30. I'm hovering around. Oh gosh, it's 0 degrees. Oh, that's rough. And Ahmed said that it's 10:36 p.m. Tuesday in Cairo. Wow, you're waking up at 10:30 p.m.? Really? And you're working on forward kinematics? Oh man, you're doing kinematics? I feel like I should like hold you up for as long as possible. I hate doing math, so I'd be avoiding that at all costs. Cool. That's awesome. We're like from all over the place. I'm glad that we get to hang out like this. This is neat. Yeah, my coffee. Oh, I'm still drinking coffee. Like, I haven't been up for that long. I still have Delta robots to fix for me and Mark's exhibition that we're installing like in 6 days. So we're still doing maintenance on them. They're never happy. Alright, so I'm gonna move this finished piece off camera now, up here, and I've got my pile of feathers and my quills right there, and I'm gonna be adding all of this to this guy right here, and then after this one's full, I can attach the two pieces together and I can actually thread them through my frame and start futzing with this to see if it's going to actually work the way that I'm hoping it does. I should have an idea real fast whether or not it's going to work, which I'm still not entirely convinced that it's going to. Not right out of the chute, at least. So I think if I assemble this and play around with it, I'll have like at least a starting point to work from, because I'm pretty sure that something like this will work if I keep banging my face over it. And like I said, usually by the third iteration in, I'll figure out what the secret sauce needs to be and go forward from there. That's not rough, that's balmy. Balmy? What? Is that balmy? That's like freezing temperature. At least compared to... Oh. It's cooler here. Like, it's spring break here in Vegas, but the weather has been legitimately crap. It's been windy and cold for the past, I don't know, like kind of for the past week and a half now. Like, we were all kind of hoping that it would clear up for this weekend, since it was like the big birthday spring break St. Patrick's Day celebration. I don't know if you guys go all out for St. Patrick's Day where you guys are at, but that's like a big drinking out late social holiday here, and since it's right before my birthday always ends up turning into this multiple day kind of doing thing, which is great, but it was very cold and crappy out, so wherever we went, we were all kind of fighting the frigid, dry, cold desert night wind and weather, which kind of took away from the, I don't know, the spring break feeling of it all. And I'm complaining, but it's actually not that cold here at all. Like, it's not even remotely or relatively as cold as other parts of the world right now. Because, I mean, although I guess wasn't today, like, technically the first day of spring? Or am I getting that wrong? I don't even know. I don't know what day it is. I'm gonna do a bunch of these first. Stop talking, so the other idea, there's a bunch of stuff that I've been hatching in regard to the masks. For my bird mask, since I'm going to be I'm going to try and, you guys are familiar with umbrella cockatoos, right? Like, if I say umbrella cockatoo, you guys have like a mental image of what that bird is capable of. It's like the one with the giant, like, massive, like, white feathers that poof out, like, on its head, like on the sides and on the top of its head, kind of like an umbrella, therefore its name. I'm going to kind of model mine after the umbrella cockatoo because that's like the loudest, most cracked out bird that I can think of. And because of that, I think my the mechanism that's going to actuate the plumage is going to have to be a bit more robust. So I'm using more of a mechanical system with like linkages and like little teeter-totter hingy bits that are going to mount directly on the mask. It's going to be quite a bit different than what I'm doing right now, just because the size and the weight and the length of the feathers on mine is probably going to take a bit more to get that to work. And then Mark's kind of insistent that I try out kind of like a skull cap, like, approach where there's a skin with feathers sticking out of the skin, and then there's effectively like a wiffle ball, like one of those balls with all the holes through it, kind of mapped on top of that the plumes will be sticking out of, and then like a winch system will tighten the top layer of skin with the holes, and as it tightens, it'll like kind of stretch that skin over the layer beneath it that the quills are attached to, and kind of work in much the same way that this one does, but in a lot more organic way. Almost kind of like tendons and muscles do. But like, he said the word winch system, and I was like, oh god, that's gonna be a nightmare. And I'm not even sure if like that the friction of two fabrics moving against each other will even like work consistently in the way that he's expecting. But I don't know, it might be worth investigating just to see if, I don't know, the most organic approach is the correct approach. So I'm thinking probably for Mark's, since he's kind of the one that's insistent on that idea, that rendition, I'll probably give it a shot for his, just to see if it works. If it works well, how it works. It should be interesting when everything is said and done. My goal is that by summer, so hopefully by June, I have all of these finished and we can actually wear them, me and my 3 friends. and we can actually talk to one another, and they'll emote and actuate the way that I'm imagining that they will. Each one is going to be triggered by a different facial expression. So the way that I'm doing this right now is with a capacitance sensor. There's going to be little copper pads on the inside of the mask that will normally not really make contact with certain parts of the face. The only time that your skin, or the wearer's skin, will make contact with those pads is when they make those specific facial expressions. So, for instance, like Matt's mask, since he's like the loud, gestural person in the group that smiles a lot, only when he smiles and his cheek fat makes contact with those pads will it trigger the mechanism poofing the feathers out. But this is going to take some trial and error to get it to work just right. But the circuit works, like I mentioned earlier. Like, I have it built up on my bench in the other room right now, and it's fine. It needs to be honed, but it more or less is in a functioning state now. So I'm thinking once I get my hands on a motor or figure out how I'm going to actuate some of this stuff, then I can tie those two systems together. The other thing I need to do after I connect a motor to the circuit is install that circuit into an actual mask with some pads mocked up on the inside to touch the different parts of the face, and see if that whole thing, that whole like face pieces touching like pads inside of the mask actually works, because that might not even work, or that might take some massaging to get to work in the way that I'm expecting it to. And then I have to like finish this, because this is just the base. I mentioned I'm going to be like adding plaster on top of these guys to make them a bit more beefy, and I can shape the outside of them too. Cool AP, you got hammered for St. Patrick's too. I got, not for St. Patrick's, I was recovering on St. Patrick's Day because I was like immensely hungover. Friday I got smashed because it was my official birthday celebration day. And the frame, to answer your question, AP Tech, this is 3D printed. Just the frame pieces, the white, long, plasticky looking bits. And the quills. So the middle of each one of these feathers that I'm threading through the what the hell this is packing envelope. These tiny little, it's almost like the piece of plastic that the printer spits out, like right at the front of the printer before it starts the print. It's effectively that same piece. It's like one extrude thickness, whatever that is. Standard. It's a simpler. Wait, what? What was the genesis for the idea? What triggered it, or was it just a great shower thought? I think the reason I want to do this is I have a parrot named Mango that I grew up with my whole life, and he kind of trained me how to be a bird, and I have this whole language with him, having lived with him my whole life, that me and him use to communicate to one another. As silly as that sounds, like, it's totally like valid. There's certain like motions and sounds and movements that we enact only when we're around one another, and it's like our personal method of communicating certain emotions to one another. So it's like this language I have with my bird, and birds are flocking creatures, and I kind of wanted to create an extension, a way of extending our means of communicating to one another, like me and the other humans that are in my flock. my friend Flock, because I'm just in general interested in the idea of creating wearable tech that extends your capacity to express what you're thinking and feeling, or extends your facial expressions, or other, I guess, other things that you normally are kind of limited to express, or people wouldn't notice. Like, I'm interested in creating things that will kind of make that subtle level expression a bit more personal or obvious. If that makes any sense. I want to enhance our capacity to express ourselves as humans. And since we're all smart people that make tech, it's something that we can do, so I mean, why not? And I think I've mentioned this in previous streams, I just want to have the ability to puff up like a crown of feathers like an umbrella cockatoo. Like, if I can do that at least once in my life, based on my smiling or my own facial expressions, I'll feel pretty happy. Because I've always been super envious of like the umbrella cockatoo's ability to just like go balls out and puff up its entire crown of feathers and just like start screaming and going nuts. Because they look insane and crazy. And like humans, we can't do that. Like, we're kind of boring. Like, we're just like these flesh envelopes with muscle inside of them. And we can like yell really loud, but we don't have any other like expressive things on our bodies. Like, we don't change color, we don't like light up, we don't have feathers that puff out, we don't have like any, I don't know, extra like biological peripherals that allow us to express ourselves. So our tech has to facilitate in that. So that's where the idea comes from, to just kind of, to answer your question. And there's other stuff I'm working on like this too that relates to other means of expressing other like biological things, triggers, I guess. Talk about that during another stream. I think a lot of the stuff that I'm working on this year, a lot of this is going to be wearable. A lot of my projects that I'm kind of planning on starting or finishing this spring, they're wearable things that allow you to just sort of, I don't know, they enhance your ability to express yourself, I guess. That's really the best way of describing it. Yes, augmented social expression devices. That's a good way of calling them. Stereotypo. Mentioning this in another video. Oh, hello, Lord Grease, Earl of Maggot. How are you doing? Good morning or good afternoon, or I'm still not used to what time it is over there in New Zealand. They say the raptors did have feathers. Yes, they do say that raptors did have feathers. I mean, Stereotypo says, yeah, we do have language, so we're not entirely boring. This is true. I mentioned this in my my comic, Gravity Road. Like, humans are unique in that we do have language and we use it to express ourselves, and that's fine and great and everything. But like, part of the definition of art in my comic is that we humans created art in order to express or show each other the things that words kind of fall short in achieving. Like, if you envision a story or a place or a setting or a person or a feeling, it's sometimes easier to actually draw that thing or narrate that thing in an image or through a piece of artwork that makes that person feel that same, elicits that same emotion that you experienced, than to try and describe it with words. Because as much as we try sometimes, we know that whatever it is we say to a person, they're only going to really understand like 20 or 30 or 40% of the meaning that we're trying to convey. unless you keep like iterating your point over and over again. And even at that, you can't be sure that they actually understood what you're trying to say. So I think that for the sake of all the subtle things that we feel and all of the, I don't know, more visceral things that we could potentially communicate to the other people that we know, tech could help us achieve that in a more fun and, I don't know, in a more fun way, I think. Not to say that everyone should walk around with like giant bird masks on their head, but I mean, I think it would be cool if we lived in a place one day where people took an active role in creating things for themselves that helped them express what they wanted to communicate in a more unique, vibrant way. Does that make any sense? I don't know. I think the fact that we use words to communicate everything is kind of boring. I mean, it is the most to the point, you know, path of least resistance-y type thing that we could do, but it kind of sucks sometimes because we're not always great at communicating everything that we want to through words. Like, sometimes it's really difficult to express to somebody what you're thinking and feeling at all, in general. I mean, especially when it comes to like deeper emotions or things that make you feel anxious. I think if we attempted to communicate things in other ways, maybe even if they are just subtle things, it would make life more interesting. And I do think that as we all evolve technologically, this is going to become like a part of like us. The tech that we create will become an extension of our being. It will represent like ourselves, our sense of self, like our ideas. Because I think more people are taking a more active role in the creation of stuff like this that represents who they are. And that's good. I don't mean to get preachy-like or anything, but it's stuff I talk about a lot. There's this great Jack Gilbert poem called The Forgotten Dialect of the Heart, which starts, "How astonishing it is that language can almost mean and frighten. It does not quite. Which can almost mean and frighten, but it does not quite." That's a good quote. I need to look that up. The Forgotten Dialect of the Heart. Pukage says, I need to look that up. And that totally does, that exactly nails what I'm trying to express. Mammals tend to have, or Stereotypo says, mammals tend to have a limited external visual cues. Especially compared to avian species, I would encounter that fashion is humanity's technological answer to the experimental expression. Yes, I agree. It's exactly, I think it's the solution. We have tech now, so we can do all sorts of crazy stuff with LEDs and fabrics and sensors, so I think more people should be implementing their own gadgets and gizmos to enhance other people's experience of them. Like, I want other people to experience me as a person when they meet me in real life. And I want everything that I make, that I'm willing to wear on my person, to be a part of that experience of encountering Sarah as like an organism. If that makes any sense. It probably makes me sound fucking nuts, but that's okay. And yes, we have fashion. I mean, fashion is, like, to some extent, yeah, like, that does... Some people take it... I think the definition of fashion culturally has kind of been, like, nailed down too tightly. like, it's come to mean like a very specific thing to too many people, and therefore has become limited as a method, like, or a means of self-expression. Like, I mean, when we're talking about personally augmenting yourself, how much of that actually has to do with the idea of vanity? Like, do you think that that's vain in the same sense that fashion has, like, come to be known as vain? It's like people who concern themselves with fashion to such an extent, like, there is this perception of that, like, self obsession that comes with that. Do you think the desire to make your own wearable tech falls into the same category, or is it something different entirely? I'll check the chat in a second. But yeah, I think that people could be doing a lot more interesting things for themselves to make life a more interesting experience for other people and themselves, but we just kind of don't, because I don't think anyone's really given us the perspective to do so or the permission to do so. And some people do, like, some people totally, like, take it upon themselves to enact these sorts of things as habit in their everyday life, but it's still, like, very rare to find people who are like, yeah, I'm a maker, hacker, tech person, and I'm going to create parts of myself that I'm going to wear out in the world, and they're going to be part of me, and you will come to know them as me. And I'm going to use them to kind of communicate to you something about myself that you otherwise might not have gotten to know to such an extent. I feel like soup. Oh my god. Like, I'm still fighting whatever it is I've had. I don't think it's strep, which is probably good, but I have, like, that face congestion and runny nose that's just kind of stuck around, like, very stubbornly, and doesn't seem to be going away in any big hurry, so that kind of sucks. Kind of kills the whole spring vibe. Is the chat still going? Yeah, okay. So I'm gonna start attaching these just so I'm doing something different and not just leaving sticks through pieces of foam. At least this is easy to do. I think for Mark's mask, like, I spent a good portion of last week assembling all of the first batch of anthropomorphize that I made to go out to the first customers that ordered them. And I went through like a crap ton of the, you know, the reels that the surface mount components come in? How there's that tape, that black plastic tape that has the tiny little holes in it to, like, keep them registered while they're inside of the pick and place machine. I have a shit ton of those spent plastic, like, casings for the surface mount components, and I saved them all because I think the little pieces of them would make excellent, like, feather type things for Mark's mask, because Mark's, you know, an electronics engineer, so I figured I would make his mask out of things that are suggestive of what he does. So now that I have all these, like, black spent reel pieces, I'm going to probably use those as his plumage, and then I'm going to implement some lighting in there so that all those tiny little registration holes on the reel will be, like, negative space, and they'll catch the light. So you'll see all these, like, tiny little holes, like, light up inside of the plumage when it poofs out. That's true. Yeah, tattoos are kind of expressive. But like in kind of a static way. Do working circuitry tattoos exist? They do, but they're not that great yet. Could you get a tattoo of a circuit where your fingers complete the loop and maybe power it? Is that a thing? I don't know. I'm guessing that would be like a conductivity thing, or if it's on your skin, I'm not quite sure if you could pull that off in quite the same way. I'm sure someone's done something like that, because it sounds like kind of an obvious cool thing to do. I mean, I've seen wearable circuits that light up LEDs and stuff, but like none of them look like they, like, I don't know, they look like they could be worked out a bit more to either look better or function better or last longer. But people are playing around with electronic tattoos, which is cool. I think I'm interested in making things that are informed by some part of you. So there has to be something that's being sensed that is triggering what's happening that's being expressed. So there's like a cause and an effect. Excuse me, there's a cause and an effect, rather than it just sort of happening all the time no matter what. So like I'm interested in it being sort of a situational thing that's being expressed, and I think that's like a big part of all the stuff that I'm developing right now, like for the masks and then some of the other projects that I'm like doing research on right now. Right, I'm gonna start attaching these to one of these things, frame pieces. Make another one of these, and then I can attach those together, and then I can feed them through this guy right here and start playing with it. So this involves taping the end of the feather again. This one. I'm going to leave maybe like a 2 millimeter gap between the two. And then fold this over. Press it down, and then that should fold over like that. And hang. But they're all going to get attached in this position. Okay. Oh, God. Yeah, I need to make myself some tea. I'm still feeling like poop. But yeah, I did have a good birthday weekend. I'm happy about that. I still haven't made my cake yet, though. I think once Mark gets home, I'm going to bother him to help me make my actual birthday cake. It's tradition that I make a Guinness chocolate cake, which is a thing, and it's kind of a St. Patrick's Day recipe because of the Guinness, obviously, but I saw it pop up in my feed years ago, and I was like, that sounds really good. I need to have that as a birthday cake. So that's a thing now. Every year I make the same Guinness chocolate cake with cream cheese frosting, and I put dinosaurs inside of it. I have a bin of plastic dinosaurs, and I just like inject them at all angles into the cake, just because it's fun. And I have to take them back out again to eat the cake, but whatever. I have like a massive dinosaur beer cake every year, which if you haven't made it before, I highly suggest doing so. It's not as sweet as like regular chocolate cake is, and it does have that Guinness flavor to it, that deep kind of I don't know what you describe Guinness as, but it tastes like Guinness. You can even take that a step further and make a Bailey's Irish cream frosting for the Guinness cake, and you kind of have like an Irish car bomb cake. Although you have to use quite a bit of Bailey's to actually taste it in the frosting, unfortunately. But, you know, as it goes. I get to put LEDs in these masks as well and decide how that's going to work out too. I think part of the indicator is not only going to be the actuation of the feathers, but I'm going to actually have lights in them as well, like some sort of like illumination, so that even if the masks look kind of dull because of the materials they're made out of, some part of them will light up as like an additional indicator that the wearer is being stimulated. But yeah, I gotta make Mark help me produce the cake tonight. Now that we've finished all of our birthday leftovers. I had lamb for my birthday. That's also tradition. I like me some lamb. But yeah, what do you guys do for your birthday? Do you guys do anything special? I gotta ask, since I've been talking about mine so much. I mean, I always try to do something like quasi-memorable, otherwise, I don't know. Otherwise, I don't know what. I like having good memories. I know some people don't like celebrating their birthday or doing anything, which I understand that too, but I'm not one of those people. I'm always like, we need to go out and do something memorable. I don't care what it is. I have to be around my friends. I have to, you know, even if we're just sitting around in the house drinking together, I want to be around people so that I have some memory from that day. It's at the end of the day, all you have are your memories. Gosh, Mark's been gone for a while. Hope he's okay. Everyone's going, it's like doctor's season. Everyone I know is going and having doctor's appointments this month. Which I guess I would too if I had insurance. Okay. Oh, did you manage to get all your applications sorted? How long before you hear back? Ah, yes. I have one more thing that I need to apply for before the, in 6 days. Oh god. I applied for a philosophical summit, which I should be finding out about at the end of this month or early April. So I've still got a couple, like a week or two left before I find out about the first thing. But if I get that, then, I mean, if I get to go on that excursion, that'll, have me going to Tokyo for a portion of May, and then the other big thing that I apply for every year is the Ars Prix, which is part of what ends up dictating what is curated for the Ars Electronica Festival. And I applied with two things this year. I apply every year with me and Mark's light play, just because that's always kind of evolving, and we haven't shown it there yet. I don't even know what would happen if we got that gig. Like, if they invited us to come and show the robots off at the festival, like, I have no idea how we'd get them to Linz, Austria, which is where the festival's at. Like, I think I would throw up and panic and lose my mind, because that installation involves, like, 100 miniature Delta robots that we built, that we, like, exhibit. And it's this big mechanical installation that's great and fun and everything, but I cannot imagine having to ship like palletize and ship all of them someplace like farther than like California, honestly. And then no special B. Aw, nobody has special B-Day rituals. My birthday now, so that becomes a bit of a thing for me. Star Wars rituals. That's cool. Sorry for spamming chat, just waiting for this veg to cook off. Oh, you're fine. Thank you for talking at me. I appreciate having questions to answer, or people to talk to, I guess, or things to talk about. Otherwise, I'm just sitting on the couch, like, doing this in silence. But, yeah, I applied for ours. I applied with, me and Noodle, like, the philosophy behind me and my, parentship with Noodle, which took some writing about. And then, there's a residency in New York that I'm applying for. But after that's done, like, after I apply for all of those things, or that last thing, that's, like, the main spring chunk that I decided to commit to. Given if I do, for whatever reason, get accepted, like, say hypothetically in like the best case scenario, I get all of the things I applied for, I will be pretty much gone for the majority of the year again, which is kind of the situation I found myself in last year. Like, I didn't get to work on any like side projects like this mask or anything, because I had one big project that I sat and committed to, which was great because it allowed me to do something. It allowed me to really focus on something I wanted to do anyway, but it did end up consuming the majority of my time, and at the end of the summer, I found myself in this position where I was kind of burnt out from it, and it wasn't finished. So I have this, and this is the project that involves Noodle's tasting feet, his behavioral appendages. I really want him to have his behavioral appendages, but I need to get the desire to go back and do another iteration of all of them. Because right now, like, I don't have it in me. Like, I worked on those for so long and so hard and so frantically, pretty much starting around this time last year until, like, November, that, I don't know. I need a breather, and then I'll probably get back to it, hopefully soon, with renewed energy, desire, interest, I don't know. All of the above. I did hear about the Uber accident. I don't know. I actually talked about this exact issue with, it was a robotic ethicist. When I was, during my, okay, so I had my artist residency was at, with ESA last year at their ESTEC facility in the Netherlands. And one of the things I did while I was there was visit their, they have a technical university in the Netherlands called TU Delft. It's in Delft. And they had I spoke with a robotics ethicist there about the whole concept of blame and who you blame when something like the Uber incident happens. And it was an interesting conversation because it got me really angry at humans, because we have this weird need to punish each other for feeling like we've been wronged. And the whole like contingency of ethics in regard to like the Uber car thing seemed to be that we had an issue with the fact that we don't know who to punish in the situation that an AI or a machine screws up and like harms a human. And it's an interesting thing to me because I kind of personally believe that there isn't anyone to blame. It's just it's not the engineer, it's not the corporation, it's not the person who got hit. Like, I think that when it comes to AI, in a sense, like, there becomes a point in time when it just happens. It's a thing that happened. And in spite of like better programming, in spite of all things, like all shit taken into account, I think some stuff is just going to happen no matter what. And you can always go back and say, well, if the software was better, or the thing, I don't know, it should be recalled because it was something in its code wasn't accounted for, or it didn't make the right decision, and because it didn't make the right decision, it's the programmer's fault. And instead of trying to trace it back, I think at some point we really need to let go of that and accept that shit's just gonna happen, and there's no one to punish for it. We just need to try and make sure that it doesn't happen again. Is like cold-hearted and kind of like detached and morbid as this might sound, I think that that's the only way we're really going to be able to advance to a point where like self-driving car accidents don't happen, is we just need to accept that they are going to happen for a period of time, and we don't want them to happen, but we need to accept that since it's a new thing, it's a brand new thing that's never been around before, there's going to be this period of time that we need to push through where the focus isn't figuring out who to blame. The focus is figuring out how to make it better so that it doesn't happen again, or it happens like very rarely. And I think that should be the focus of our energy, not deciding who needs to be punished. That's just me. That's kind of like where I was at when I talked to this guy, because he had a completely different like point of view on it, and I was arguing with him because I mean he knew more than me, but I was like like rage because I have my thoughts and my feelings. But oh my god, MPPC crashed and now I'm back. Oh, we're just talking about ethics, Lord Grease. Tangential thought refashion. Could you imagine how much crazy expression there could be with widespread augmented reality adoption? The kids would glitter like early 2000 personal websites. Yes, it would be super cool. Like if we all just wore like augmented reality headsets and we actually looked to other people like whatever it was we wanted to add to ourselves, I think that would be an awesome thing. Like I wish that was the reality we lived in, where we could, there was like an extra layer of ourselves skinned on top of ourselves that we could see using devices that allowed us to express ourselves better. I mean, that's effectively clothes, but this is just like clothes 2.0. It's like accessorizing 2.0 with technology. I think that's also like the sort of reality I want to live in, because that sort of shit excites me. Like anything that I can add to myself with technology to like add to myself, to add to who I am, to help you better understand who I am and what's going on in my head, that I want. What mic am I using right now? Ah, okay. Good, I'm talking to the right thing. I think the car should be congratulated. Did someone died, yes. What did people expect? People die all the time. It's life. If you put your life in the hands of others, expect results that you don't expect. I kind of tend to agree with you there, Lord Grease. I don't know, I think the thing that should be focused on is the fact that we are getting to a point where we don't have to drive cars anymore, which is something I've wanted my whole life. Like, I hate driving. Like, I hate it. Like, I have a car, but I never use it. Like, I like going out, but I don't like the idea of having that much responsibility tacked on to me. Because driving is fucking dangerous. Like, the fact that we're creating technology that's more capable of doing that than we are, and we can rely on it, is incredibly exciting to me. And that is what we should be focusing on. Like, that's far more exciting than it making a mistake and deciding who should be blamed. And I don't think that they should put the development of the technology on hold because it made everyone kind of weird. I mean, it was gonna happen eventually, right? And cars driven by people are still far more scary a thing than machines driving cars and occasionally finding themselves in situations where something bad has to happen. Ah, Stereotypo says, but this person didn't put their hands in put their life in the hands of the Uber. The Uber just sort of hit them. And that again takes us into the feels territory of no one knows how to really think and feel about that. And it is scary. I mean, whose fault is it if a tree falls on you? Is it the tree's fault, or is it your fault for standing under the tree? I mean, I don't know. Am I fucking this up? Yes. I hope Mark's alright. So once he gets back and I'm done like testing this system out, I'm gonna be spending the rest of my day replacing servo motors because our Delta robot installation light play got wrecked during its last exhibition at the other library that we did. I think we lost like a third of the motors from strain because they were on display for just so damn long, and servo motors aren't meant to be used for periods of time like that, which kind of sucks. So I'm gonna be tending to my children for a good chunk of time this evening, which is gonna be boring, but at least I'm making a little bit of progress on these masks. Just something I really want to do. But yeah, I kind of want to have a night this summer where we all wear our masks and I can put on war paint and run around in my bathing suit again, as it is important to me to do such things. How long you stood under the tree. Yeah, I fear Ahmed, I fear people more than machines too. People are scary. Yes, they are. I agree. And way less predictable. Depends on how long you stood under the tree. Blame God. It's always God's fault. Not sure how productive that is, but I am not a lawyer. I have no idea. I think the point is there's really no answer, because blame is an artificial construct that we sort of created. Like, we feel like there needs to be some reciprocity that occurs in nature to balance out us feeling like we've been wronged. But like, it's kind of like on us. Like, we created like the whole perception that something needs to happen to balance out being wronged. Like, humans kind of created justice. Like, justice doesn't happen in nature. Like, think about that. Like, justice isn't a natural thing. Like, the animal that eats some bird's eggs, like, the mother bird isn't going to get justice for the snake eating her eggs. Like, it's just, it happened, and that's just how it goes. I mean, in a civilization, like, we need laws, and therefore justice does come into play. And I think we're kind of obsessed with that right now, but I think we kind of need to reassess, like, where the notion of justice belongs and where it doesn't. Does that make any sense? I don't know, what are your guys' guys' thoughts and feelings on that. Uh-oh. Oh man, hi Thomas. I didn't know she was still streaming. We're talking philosophy here. We're talking about robotics and ethics, given the Uber thing that happened the other day and how we feel about that. So if you're interested in I don't know, discussing that, I'm like very leisurely making feathers for my mask, and I'm gonna probably attach these at some point, like before I finish the stream, just to kind of give you an idea of what we're doing here today. But for the moment, we're just kind of leisurely discussing, yeah, robotics and ethics. But yeah, Pukaj says, since when has questions not having an answer stopped us from asking them? Yes, that's philosophy. That's the fun stuff. That's the stuff I live for. A concept of universal justice is pervasive, but when you species get to a social level, there is function to the concept of responsibility. Yes, I agree. Like, it makes sense in a society, like in a functioning like civilization, to have like the construct of justice kind of like hold everything together. I just don't think it belongs everywhere. Like, not everything is part of an equation that needs to be balanced, I don't think. And I think developing technology, or just technology in general, like things that aren't natural, like tech, it's difficult to kind of like, it's like forcing oil on top of water and wanting them to mix, in my mind. I was getting a bunch of publicity about giving each fleet of autonomous cars a shared license. Seems like a good idea on paper, at least. Autonomous cars, a shared license seems... I didn't see that tweet. I'm not quite sure what you mean, Thomas. About a shared license. I only fear where our constructs, corporate or governmental, exist without accountability, and accountability relies on justice as a part of society. Yes, I think humans should always be held accountable, but I think that in this case, with the technology, with the artificial intelligence that we're talking about here, we shouldn't put the same expectations on something that isn't human. Like, we're taking a very human construct and we're trying to map it to artificial intelligence, like the self-driving cars, and I don't think that it will ever map the way that we want it to, because we're not talking about a human consciousness. Like, there's always in the matter, like when you're talking about justice, or there's this idea of intent, and an AI doesn't have a sense of right or wrong. It doesn't intend to do anything. It's just functioning the way that it was told to function, and then sometimes stuff happens. I don't think justice maps to artificial things in the same way because of that one factor. Humans, like, we're a different story. We should always be held accountable because, yes, we can discern what right from wrong, and we can be accountable for what we do based on that, based on the fact that we do have intent, we do have to make a decision whether we act in a certain way or don't, and we're judged accordingly. But machines, yeah, I don't think you're in a different thing. We have to come up with our own system for that, and then how can we say what that system would or should be? That's like a whole nother discussion. Can't link the tweet because YouTube. Basically, pretend every car in a fleet is driven by some imaginary person. Give that person a normal license. That way there's at least some accountability. I don't think that's a good idea either. I think humans have issues. Lord Grease, Earl of Maggot, agrees with me. Good. I mean, high five. I mean, not that anyone has to agree with me, but I'm happy someone else out there sees it from my point of view. But innocence is that's another human thing. Innocence is another human construct that it's a attribute that we can give to each other and to ourselves, but machines don't have innocence or uninnocence. That's like kind of the thing. Like innocence is another really wormy, wishy-washy kind of difficult to define term, I would say. Humans have these really difficult to define things, like concepts, and we apply these concepts so openly, loosely to things, and we kind of just take for granted that everyone's on the same page with what something means. Like you can't really do that with AI. I think AI are kind of this like passive thing. Like they don't have those same attributes, those same wishy-washy, open to interpretation type qualities that we give each other as humans. Does that make any sense? How do you exactly? Again, like we were talking about the concept of punish. Like I think, like in regard to robotics and ethics, I think you might have stepped out or your computer crashed when we were talking about this. Greece. Like the whole idea of robotics and ethics stems from our obsession with reciprocity and punishing something for doing what we perceive as like having wronged another person. But like to the machine, like does the machine know that it wronged another person by like hitting their dog or killing a human? And that plays into the whole idea of intent. It's like we feel like we need to punish something to balance the cosmic equation of things. But can we? Like, do we have to? Or is that just some weird thing that humans feel entitled to because of the way that we've run our ship over the period of history? I think that we need to release this desire to punish, to exact punishment on things when we're talking about inanimate things that aren't us. It's one thing to punish a person, but when we start talking about AI and machines, it doesn't make sense anymore. It just doesn't. Like, we can't judge them on the same grounds as we do people, because they're not people. And that's just kind of what I think, I guess. But staying with the tech analogy, if there is a bug, then it should be fixed, not smashed with a hammer. Punishment is Pan's. Rehabilitation is where it's at. I meant legal innocence, not moral innocence. Ah, okay. Well, in legal innocence, okay, so you mean... Still, I mean, legal innocence. It's still the same kind of innocence, though. Legal or moral. Like, I don't mean they're the same. I mean, in the same way that it's null. It's null in the same way that, like, machines can't have moral innocence. I don't think... I mean, like, obviously, legally we're gonna find someone at fault, because that's just what we do. We have money, and there's corporations, and people sue and stuff, and that's all, like, weird, like, highly situational, like, shit that we create to kind of deal with all of that, and, like, exact vengeance, or feel like we've been, you know... what's the word? We've gotten what we want, we can move on. It's really about us moving on, which is weird. Humans need to feel like everything's right, like right and settled out properly, and that they've exacted something out of the world for the hardship that they've ensued due to something happening. And I don't know. How do you punish an AI? Can you put steam? If there's a bug, then it... Yes, I agree. Like, bugs should be fixed, but we shouldn't necessarily punish the bug. The idea was to punish the company that made it, and if the fleet is unsafe, it loses the license just like a person would, and company has to prove it's safe to get it back. That makes sense. Okay, so now that you state it that way, like the license belongs to the company, and then the company is punished, then yeah, that makes sense. And then there's deeper probably issues with that regarding corporations and all the loopholes that they have in this country, or in America at least. But I mean, on the surface, that at least sounds proper. Far less eloquent at explaining it than original. It's okay. I'm amazed I can explain anything at all anymore. My brain's like a giant mess of like so many ideas and thoughts that they're just sort of like condensed into this ball of thought. And I think that's like a product of age than anything. Like, I've been around long enough that my ideas are just like a giant inarticulate mass in my mind, and I have to like yank on, like, grab a string and just sort of like pull it out as far as it will go to get it out of my mouth in a way that makes sense. That's how it feels. Reparations, it's all about getting something from others when they've wronged you, but a machine, there isn't system that failed. I mean, ultimately it comes down to punishing the company because they're the ones who created the AI. I mean, I think that's as good as we're gonna get, because, I mean, yes, something should happen. I don't think nothing should happen, but, yeah, it's always just gonna come back to the corporation being punished for its, like a machine that they've created falling short. And Moose is Booze Productions. We're talking about robotic ethics, or ethics in robotics, as it pertains to the Uber death that happened the other day. Because, I don't know, we like talking philosophy here. And I'm making feathers. Anyhow, I'm almost done with this. I'm like half done. Come on, Sarah, you can do it. I really want to see this thing work or not work, so I gotta like speed up and not get distracted with all the interesting conversation that we're having. Ah. But no, I love talking about this. Like, I could talk about stuff of this nature all day. Like, I am fascinated by it. It's part of the world I want to see exist. And I wish we were getting there faster than we are. Opinionated. And will affect the AI research too. It's always gonna, something is always gonna be affected, unfortunately. And by punishment, I know that's gonna come up to like, or it's gonna pan out to financial punishment. Like, the company that's found guilty is going to be punished by being fined like some amount, which is weird, or maybe not, which will affect the company and possibly shut them down. And if they aren't successful enough to counterbalance that blow, then they'll go under and they won't exist anymore. So that's at stake. So that makes sense, like in an artificial ecosystem like that. Like, that seems like fair Darwinism when we're talking about companies. Like, if the shit that you create isn't dependable enough not to kill people, then maybe you shouldn't be around, sort of thing. Or if it keeps happening, then maybe it is the sort of thing that needs to take you out so that it doesn't keep happening. And it will like put a halt on research if that's like a company that's making a lot of progress, but I don't know. I guess it will and should. It will balance out. I think if the good outweighs the bad, then even the bad won't be enough to shut down a company that's making the right strides. It's kind of like, I don't know, like SpaceX has a lot of failures, but they're doing so much good that it doesn't matter if some of their stuff blows up or crashes sometimes. the positive far, far, far outweighs the negative in that regard. Oh, it's totally not too intellectual. It's easy. This is like a basic thing to talk about. I think everyone has an opinion about it too, which is what makes it so interesting. And it's important. Like, we should be talking about this stuff because it's our future. Like, this is going to affect us like in the next 5-10 years. Though if they're making a lot of progress, the bad is less likely to happen. True. I think it'll balance out more than you think, Ahmed, because you stated your concern with it being a bad thing if the company's punished. I think that if they are doing... Mark's home, by the way. Hi! How was your thing?
Good.
Yes, you should come say hi to everybody. I gotta keep going. We're talking about ethics. Yeah? Yeah?
What?
Ethics. We're talking about ethics.
Ethics?
Yes.
I have ethics.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Come behind me and say hi. My camera's... Yeah? Here. He's like climbing and stuff.
Hi,
Yeah.
everybody.
That's a Mark.
Is Maker Block on?
No, he's not with us right now.
Who's on?
Pukage, Thomas, Stereotype, Moo is a boo, Ahmed is here,
Novi.
Lord Grease, Earl of Maggot,
Lord Grace.
Novi.
Hi.
I think Vi's working on a blog post. But some of your friends are here. It makes an airplane as an AI. She's in told all the people I would be sued and I will have to pay for the families. Controls. We're talking about
What? Autonomous vehicles?
Yeah.
If you have insurance, then the insurance will pay all of the damages. Just like if you kill people in your car, your insurance company will pay. Unless it's murder.
Yay.
So,
And welcome to the ethics show. Tonight we have special guest Mark. Say hello, Mark.
Hi.
Welcome to...
I bring ethics.
No, this is important. Like I think what we're talking about is super important, and I'm like fucking tickled that we're actually discussing it and having such an interesting like conversation. And I'm bummed I didn't include the chat on the screen, but I saw that on Facebook now that if you watch the stream on not on Facebook, YouTube. If you watch the stream, like an old stream on YouTube, on their page, it actually shows the chat.
Yeah.
In sync with.
And I think you could put closed captioning on the screen and it'll have the words in it.
True.
Cool.
I don't know. I decided to stop putting the chat on my screen because it kind of took up a lot of space. And if you can view it anyway on YouTube if you want, then there's really no reason for me to. How do you guys feel about that? Hi, Tony. Hi.
Hi, Tony.
The feathers are going well.
Well, I'm gonna go get your car small.
Yeah?
You still need to go to Joanne? Or you wanna put that off.
No, I want to go.
Alright, we'll pop over there and I'll like maybe at 4.
Okay.
When we get back.
Deal.
Get our errands done.
Deal. Alright.
Alright, I gotta see if your car actually starts. If it doesn't, then Thursday maybe.
Just stopping in to say data sleep now. Oh, good night. Good night, Royal Shadow. Sleep well. Dream of a noodle. It's different when the machines have the ability to learn and make decisions from its own experiences. Yes, that was another thing we talked about, Ahmed. What you just mentioned. If you design the software, but the machine is also capable of altering itself in a way that you don't influence as the writer of the program, then you become like disconnected from that fault because
There's error and omissions insurance for things when factory machines kill people because they were programmed incorrectly.
It's kind of like
this is not a new thing.
Yeah.
Right?
No, I know.
Oh, and it turns out in the Arizona thing that police already, they jumped the gun, but they made the statement that it is from what they have reviewed unlikely that the car is at fault. The person stepped right in front of the car with zero time to react.
So I mean, that's another thing that's we talked about it, like when I was in at Delft, that we were talking about how like it's the same thing, like with the software that you can't entirely control, even as like the programmer. It's kind of like if your dog bites somebody, is it your fault that the dog bit that person? It's like, you're not the dog. Like, right. I can't control whether or not my dog is going to get a hair up its ass. Well, it's like if the dog's on a leash, and there's other things, there's a lot of things that the person who got bit should have known better than to approach within leash distance. So there's all these factors you have to factor in. So I guess it's not an easy thing to really, like, conclude. Like, when everything's said and done, there are factors. Yeah, it's like it's totally situational. And well, here's another thing about the Arizona thing. It's like, well, that person stepped right in front of the car, so not even a human would have had time to react to it. But the comments out there of people that live in that area saying that the bike trail that leads to that road is a death trap. And people are like, yeah, we already know that trail is set up in a way that you think it's safe to cross right there without looking, and you get run over. And so it's likely the city of Mesa, Arizona is going to get sued, and they're at fault for killing that person because they made a road that's unsafe. Other people noticed way before this event that it was unsafe, and the city did nothing to fix it. You know, it's like, yeah, maybe a couple of signs, but it's like, well, was that enough? But this person had no idea they were stepping into traffic. And that now it comes down to the person who designed the road, right? That architect now, are they liable for murder because they created something that is essentially a death trap? Yeah. Right? But the city council approved that road, so are they at fault because they looked at an obvious death trap and said, hey, let's go with this, here's $5 million, let's build it. So that's the situational thing, and where it spends 8 years in court because people have to talk about it, and really where does this lie? You know, was somebody negligent in noticing that this was potentially going to kill people, right? And that happens for everything. The bridge thing in Miami, all these things. How are you to know, you know? Just like stereotypes, like the government might order that your dog has to be put down. Yes, and the government might order that your software be terminated and not used anymore because it's unsafe. Right. So, I mean, that's liable to happen. But that will drag out in courts. Just executes. A car wouldn't learn while driving, but some server somewhere would do the learning, and that doesn't then be used by cars. Someone would still be in the loop at the testing phase before the upgrades are sent out to the fleet. I suppose. I just had a thing in my mind and it escaped. Had an idea and it just sort of like went, it's gone. Let's see. If my car starts, the poor car. Speaking of cars, I'm looking at the chat. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what the correct thing is. Accountability is a tricky subject, but it stems from, we do have this weird desire for justice as humans. Humans have to have their justice, and I think that we need to evaluate that within ourselves in order to make the right decision about how we treat AI. Because I know it's not an easy question to answer all the time where blame needs to be placed, but do we necessarily have to blame something all the time when things get this gray and murky? I guess is my point. Welcome to Philosophy Corner. Ethics. I'm curious what ours' theme is going to be this year. They announce it in like April, so sometime next month I'll find out what the theme of the festival is going to be. Because I have no idea. For a reason, humans have a problem with the concept that it could be completely the victim's fault. Yes, we do. Given you're implying that there's a victim too. That's another thing that we do. Victim. I mean, if a tree falls on you, I guess like loosely it's accepted. Like you were a victim of the tree falling on you, but like, are you really a victim when sometimes trees just fall over and sometimes people or animals or grass just happens to be in the way? Like, it's like such a weird thing to call, I don't know, like someone in that sense a victim. But yeah, I tend to agree with you, Tony. Like, it's very difficult for humans to like accept that it's the victim's fault, and that's causing issues, or will cause issues, and will continue to cause issues. With the absolute perfect day control captains, transfers, whatever, there will still a chance someone gets hurt, though it is small, all about risks. Yeah, but I think we do need to accept the scenario that sometimes shit just happens, and we need to just accept it and not worry so much about how to point the finger, where to point the finger. We just need to come up with some way of dealing with it and moving on, really. But that's just my humble opinion, which might seem cold and detached, but oh no, am I out of little pieces? Shit. I think I printed more, so let me go check real quick. I could just attach these, actually. So I'm almost done. I'm not sure who was in the car. I don't even know if anyone was in it. I think like the car just hit some person, although Mark like just mentioned a second ago that they have like evidence, strong evidence that suggests that this person just sort of jumped out in the road anyway and the car didn't have enough time to react. So if that's the case, then I mean, it is like, so like Tony mentioned, it's probably just a case of it was the fucking person's fault. And we need to just accept that as the conclusion and move the fuck on. Pretty much. Humans driving cars scares the shit out of me. Like, it always has. It has since I was like 12. And my parents are like, can't you wait to drive one day? And I was like, no. Or yes, I can wait. I think they have to have an engineer in the car to monitor still. That's lame. And it's not technically self-driving. Looking at the aerial image, it doesn't look like there was an actual crosswalk where the person was hit. Okay. Well, then there you go. How's your day going, Tony? How is the doing going of the shapes? Oh, so many feathers. I don't know. Still just think humans have this weird obsession with, like, justice. And that kind of goes back to the fact that I think humans kind of have this weird obsession with entitlement right now. We feel entitled to our justice. When the sick reality of existence is that not everything in life gets to be squared up the way that we'd like. Because at the end of the day, existence isn't fair, and we need to accept that on a deeper level, I think. But anyhow, I should totally eat eventually. I'm doing that thing again where I'm just working and not consuming food. Mark, do you want to make a birthday cake tonight? Do you want to make it? Yay.
You can do servos.
Yay.
You want to go to your Joanne in a little while?
Yeah.
Alright, so I'm gonna go smog that thing. Yeah?
Yeah.
And then,
Go this way.
what do you do?
Move this way.
You're blocking the light.
Yep.
Alright. I'm gonna go do fabric.
Thank you for taking my car to be smogged.
You're welcome.
Schmogged.
I'll be back in a while.
So the other thing is, these are going to be different sizes when I end up making the final version of this. And I'll probably take a lot more, I'll focus on making it look right. So I'm actually going to probably architect on a head dummy thing, like one of those jewelry head things that you see like in jewelry stores where it's like a mannequin face, torso, whatever. I'm gonna probably put the mask on, and before I attach all the mechanical plumagey bits, I'm going to measure what the feather size should be so that I have a bit more control over what the thing looks like once it's assembled. So it's one thing to get it to work, which is what I'm sorting out right now, is just like the functionality of the system. But after I figure out how to do that, then I also need to make it look aesthetically pleasing, or at least aesthetically how I want for the person wearing the mask. But anyhow, I can actually probably attach these two at this point. So feathers are overlapping that way. Feathers are overlapping that way. Okay. So these are going to attach in the middle here. So I should probably finish this before I bolt them together. Kind of like one of those Native American headdresses, sort of, kind of. Right, I gotta check and see if there's plumes on the print bed, and if there aren't, then I need to run and print some more because I'm out. Tony says, looking at the design problems, the new prototype is going to get expensive fast. Wait. All the design problems, the new prototype is going to get expensive fast. For what? What you're working on? I'm just gonna assume that you mean what you're working on today in the shop, Tony. Since I have no reference right now. But yeah, I'll be right back. Wow. I was a good girl. I totally remember the part now. Rumble Strip V2? Oh no. I'm not sure what Rumble Strip V1 was. Oh wait, yeah, I am. That sucks. Well, for them, not for you, I guess. Doesn't matter for you. But yeah, I'm going to, since we're talking about cake, I don't know, I could just message you with my phone. Where is my phone? Fuck it. Or I can message you on the computer. Because I have that. My computer's right here in front of me. What day is it? It's Tuesday. Here we go. Anyhow, okay, so I'm almost done with this. I've got at least this one line. So what I'm gonna do after I'm finished with this row, this complete row of feathery bits, once these are attached, I'm gonna screw everything together and make another piece that effectively looks like this, that's gonna fit underneath it. It's gonna be a partial though, because I don't have 4 rows of feathers, obviously. But I'm going to weave them through the slots on this, and I'm going to thread both of these frames onto a piece of pipe through their common axis, which is this, where this screw is right here. I'm going to remove it and then just thread both onto just pipe for now, so that I can rotate them against one another and see if they do what it is that I'm expecting them to do, which I'm not entirely sold that it's going to work as well as I think it is in my head, but that's why you make stuff. You build it and then you watch it fail and then you correct yourself. So that's kind of the plan. Oh, there we go. Huh? Cool. We're gonna have a cake party. Cake's gonna be fun. Okay, so I've been doing this for about 2 hours and it is 3:09, and Mark's getting my car smogged because his birthday present to me is doing life chores that I don't like doing, like around my birthday, which is renewing my car and my car registration, and then doing the smog thing and getting that taken care of, because as I mentioned, I have this aversion to driving, so he kind of takes care of that for me, which is really unfortunate. I have like the cutest car in the world. I have a red Beetle convertible with a black top, and it's the best car in the world, and I absolutely hate driving. I think when I was young and I felt immortal, I used to drive it a lot more confidently, and it was a fun thing to have back then, but I don't know, like I fell out of love with the small amount of love that I found for driving in my early 20s. But yeah, I'll just start assembling the frame. Oh man. And it does smell like crayons. Tony is correct. Tony, you've been in my car. Tony knows exactly how terrifying of a driver I am. Hmm? My car, for whatever reason, smells like wax. It smells like Crayola box. It has my entire life that I've had it, which is pretty much for 10 years now. God, I've had that car for 10 years. Shit. Wow. I am old. But yeah, it's a good car. It's been a very reliable, trustworthy vehicle. I just, every time I'm in it, I'm white knuckling and like praying that I just get to my destination in one piece, which is totally not the way you should drive. I'm not that bad. I really don't like it. I don't think that that feeling is ever going to diminish or go away, for what it's worth. Thomas says only car that he's had is a 1993 Nissan Micra. Still fun though. Yeah, Mark has his toy car. He drives a Kia, like Sportage, but then his like toy vehicle is a it's what the hell's the thing called again? Wow, it's the car that looks like it has a face. Tony knows. I can't remember what the hell that car is. His wow. It's a little convertible like thing with a face. It looks like it has like eyes and a mouth, and it's convertible, and it's small, and it's like the original shit. I don't remember. That's bad of me. I drive a Lord Grease, Earl of Maggot. I drive a 2005. There you go, Tony. Yeah, Tony just named it. Mark has a Miata, like the original Miata that's all manual. It's like a little go-kart. And then I drive a 2005 Volkswagen Beetle that's red and has a black top. It's a convertible, and it's like the best. And he also has a Kia. Mark has a Kia. The Miata is in his garage, locked up, all sad-like, and it doesn't get used very often. Although, at least once or twice a year, he takes it out and drives with the top down, and it's literally like being inside of a go-kart, because it doesn't have power steering, it doesn't have power anything. It's just like a little fast box that he takes places. It's Mark's fast box. I feel all allergy. What? What do you mean, oh god, not a VW? It's a crayon car. I love my VW. It's like the best thing in the world. I don't know. I like my Bug. It's a good car. It's my baby. I picked it out from all the other, like, cars. Wait, do I want to attach this to this one? I don't think so. So yeah. So the other thing that I'm going to be doing tonight, although I'm not sure if I'm gonna stream a whole lot of it, is since Tony's coming over later on tonight, I have this like capacitance circuit with these pads like hooked up. They're like little copper pads, and I'm going to figure out exactly where I need to put those in the mask so that I can test the mask and the circuit and the mechanism together eventually. Not that this is the system that's going in Tony's mask, but I want to have a working portion of each to deal with so that I can eventually get everything together. At least that's the direction that I'm trying to head in. Okay, so great. Anyhow. Oh, did I ever? I probably didn't. Anyway. Nope. Bad Sarah. There. Now you guys can see more. Should have done that in the beginning and I totally forgot. Bad Raptor. I guess being a little bit more zoomed in isn't a bad thing. But anyway, back to work. But yeah, I'm gonna try and use a capacitance circuit for this, so that given the amount that your face is making contact with the inside of the mask, where the pads are, that'll affect how much the feathers actuate. So like if you're just kind of like making a gentle facial gesture, the feathers will very subtly kind of poof out. But if you like really commit to making that like the scowl or the smile or whatever facial expression you're making, then they'll really like pop up and look cracked out. Particularly for mine, like since I am kind of mimicking the umbrella cockatoo, like if I smile or do that facial movement where my scalp moves back in an abrupt fashion, I want all the feathers to pop up like really, really lively like, in a fun way. So you pick one of the worst cars ever. What did you turn down? What? No. Why is everyone talking shit? Nothing wrong with a beetle unless you put eyelashes on it. There are no eyelashes in my beetle, just so you know. Cool. Beetles are cool. Yeah, when I was a kid, like back like during the 2000s or the turn of the century, I guess, I wanted that green iridescent beetle that they came out with back then. They had like a metallic, fancy painted green beetle like around 2000, and I wanted one of those really bad with a green top. And then they kind of became more and more scarce. Like I don't think you see any of them on the road anymore these days. Like I haven't seen one in years. But when I saw the red one, I was like, all right, the red is good enough. It's a sharp little car. When it's clean and it isn't covered in like a layer of dirt like it is right now, it's like it's a cute car. It's just, again, it's a car and I don't like cars. Fuck cars, man. I want my cake. Oh, I don't know what I was doing. I almost died when I had to replace almost every moving part on a car that had done only. Oh wow. Really? Yeah, all my parts are failing on the car now because of plastic. Anything that's plastic is just, the desert heat has sapped all of the oil out of the plastic and it is now brittle and breaking. Like the mechanisms inside the door of the car for the window have all failed. The handles for the glove compartment, the door handles, anything that has a plastic anything is now cracking, and I'm having to either 3D print replacements or buy replacements off the internet, because the car is definitely showing its age at this point in time. Which is what it is. Oh, are you taking off, Lord Grease? Wait, oh, see. See ya? Oh, you're saying bye to Stereotypo. I'm sorry. I have to go run some errands, but it was a pleasure chatting with you all. Good luck. Oh, thank you. Take care, Stereotypo. Enjoy the rest of your day doing the things. Maybe doing what I do. I'm so tired. But yeah. So yeah, at some later point today, I'm going to the fabric store because I want to make a plushie for myself, which is something when I get a wild hair up my ass, I will actually hand sew stuffed animals because I want them. And I want to make this particular stuffed animal of the character from the game Monster Hunter, which I've never played before, but I found, like, one of the people I follow on Twitter made this drawing of this, like, plump little dinosaur character that's, like, just a ball of happiness that is cute and lizard-like, and I fell in love with it, so now I have to make myself one of these things, so that I can, like, hug it and squeeze it and cuddle with it at night. So I need to go run to Joann Fabrics and buy the fleece in the appropriate colors so that I can make him. And this is an animal from the game called the Dodogama, or Dodagama, as Matt would say. My friend Matt plays this game, by the way. So I didn't know it was from the game Monster Hunter until for my birthday on Friday, when we were all meeting up at Mark's place, I saw Matt and I was catching him up with, you know, what I've been doing for the past week, and I opened my sketchbook and showed him a picture of this creature, and I went, I discovered this thing that this illustrator that I follow on Twitter draws all the time. It's the most adorable character, and I thought it was the illustrator's creation that he had made. And I showed my friend Matt the picture, and I go, look at how cute this thing is. And he looked at it, and he went, oh, I murder that motherfucker, like, 3 times a day. He's from, you know, Monster Hunter. He's, like, an enemy. He's, like, a common mob. And I was like, what? And he's like, yeah. He's like, it's called the Dodogama, and he's this fat little dinosaur. And he's like, yeah, he scoops up, like, pieces of the earth, like the ground, in his face, and then, like, furnaces it into lava and then vomits it back out at you. So he's like an earth eater, lava spitting fat little dinosaur. And I didn't know that, but apparently Matt kills him all the time. So I think on a Friday, for French Toast Friday, I'm gonna have him bring the game over so that I can see the monster and then maybe potentially very sadly witness him kill it. But I'm curious to see what the thing looks like. But in any case, this is like I want to make a plushie of it so that I can hug it and sleep with it at night. But I like making the plushies on occasion because it challenges my ability to create a 3-dimensional stuffed thing out of 2-dimensional pieces of fabric, which is really not an easy thing to do. Not that I need to tell you guys that, but it is hard to come up with a pattern that works well for a plushie. So every so often when I feel so inclined, it is fun to actually go through all the problem-solving processes of looking at a picture on the internet of something and then trying to create it with fabric. And then if I am successful, then I have a new buddy to cuddle up with in bed, which I totally sleep with stuffed animals. So anyone who ever wanted to know, my bed where I sleep, where I nest, has multiple plush things in it that I've made. I have a plush Delta robot that I sleep with. Like, I have an actual plushy Delta robot that I cuddle at night. I nest with it and it keeps me safe. Which might make me sound nuts, but whatever. Again, I anthropomorphize everything, so of course I would have stuffed animals. Everything has feelings. So after I get my fabric, then I get to jam servos into broken robots until Tony arrives. and then I get to play with Tony's face. Tony, are you still here? Ah! Oh god, I'm so... Maybe it's just allergies. Like, maybe I'm not actually sick like I thought I had been for the past 3 weeks. Maybe I just legitimately have... No, that can't be it. Like, I don't know. Like, my face is congested, and it's... Cool. Take care, Pookage. Pookage is taking off. I'll see you. Hopefully I'll have this finished by the end of the stream. I'm all talking about stuffed animals. That's what I'm doing. I'm almost done. Faster, Sarah. That's totally my stomach making sounds. Jesus, I need to eat. See, yesterday I had the rest of my rack of lamb for dinner. For my birthday, like if I can help it, if I have any choice in the matter, I either go to a place that has a cheese menu here in Vegas, or I go to a place that has a rack of lamb. And I'll get one or the other, or both. But lamb is this guilty pleasure of mine that I love having when I have the opportunity to. But I got this rack of lamb, and it was huge. It was like multiple riblets, like just stacked on top of each other, and I had maybe like 3. So I got to bring the other half home, and I kind of curled up on the couch yesterday and just pushed bones into my face and sucked them of all of their meat over the period of the evening, which was great. Noodle says that's wrong. Oh. Okay, I think I've got room for like 2 more of these things, and then I can bolt them together. New Zealand loves lamb. Lord Grease, Earl of Maggot. How do you guys have lamb there? Because the stuff I had the other night, it came with like a special sauce that I didn't end up using because it didn't seem to go well with the meat. It was like a peanut-based, spicy, like, sauce of some sort, but like peanut-based sauce and lamb is kind of weird. Like, I've had herb-crusted lamb that's like fucking amazing, but very few sauces have really complemented the lamb in like a proper way. Sheeps are good food. Nom those sheeps. And Tony says I might just be experiencing the effects of a dusty house. That's true. This house, I don't think has been cleaned, like, ever, like, in that sense. I think the only way it gets dusted is by things getting moved around. Feathers. Come up with the most interesting hell for myself. I guess these could also be like leaves. Alright. On the spit roast, ooh. I could go for that. I want spit roasted lamb. I've never had spit roasted open fire lamb. Oh. Alright, one more. these fuckers. I think. Or two. I guess there's 2 more leaves left. I'll just use both of them up. I'll like force them to fit against their will. They love when that happens. Mint applesauce. That sounds good, actually. Thomas says mint applesauce. Yeah, I did hear that mint is supposed to go, like mint jelly or whatever is supposed to go well with lamb. Like I've never had the two together. Like I think the best lamb I've ever had was at a restaurant like 13 years ago that used to be at the MGM Grand called Olio. It was really cool. It looked like a it was like Jetsons future themed. Like everything was very bubbly and chrome-like. I don't know why, but it looked like a spaceship is envisioned by like the 60s. Everything was, I don't know. Most of it was chrome in there and all futuristic and stuff, but they had a lamb on the menu that was encrusted with roasted pine nuts, Parmesan cheese, and fresh herbs. And the meat was like, the outside of the meat was caked in this stuff. And you'd get like little bits of it with every bite. And it was the best like flavor pairing of meat to herb to like pine nut roasty toastiness, like nutty flavor. It was like, oh my god, it was to die for good. I think that was the dish that got me into lamb and like started my lifelong lamb obsession that I've had. But the restaurant closed and then I never ever had it that good again in my entire life. So very sad about that. But the lamb I had the other night was a treat. So again, I don't get it that often. I remember a couple of years ago, I think for my 28th birthday, I got a rack of lamb at Furnace Creek out in Death Valley at one of their resorts. And I sat in the dark on the roof of this like oasis resort in the middle of the desert, like the salt flats. And I sucked on like one bone for hours because I was drunk. And the bone just tasted so good for whatever reason that I just couldn't get it out of my mouth. Ha, that sounded totally inappropriate. It was really good. Like whatever they did to marinate the meat or prepare it, it just like permeated into the bone, or the bone just tasted good for whatever reason. And I was thoroughly enjoying it. But you gotta love a good bone. Alright, I'm gonna call this one done. And that's gonna attach here, so those are gonna get pinned together. Tra-la-la. Nothing, tra-la-la. As I mention again and again how much I like meat. I'm making my stomach raw. But yeah, tonight definitely the pie is gonna happen. I mean the cake, whatever. Cake, pie, birthday cake, pie. There are better ways to solve this problem, but I'm not worrying about them for this prototype. Bones are always where the flavor is. Thomas. Bones are where the flavor is at. I totally agree. Everyone likes a good bone. Bone and ribeye. Bone and meat is the best. why did this just suddenly become so much harder? Hey Vigray, welcome to the Sarah's making a mask session. You missed our chat about robots and ethics, or robotics, ethics of robotics, whatever. We were in a philosophical discussion earlier regarding kind of, I guess, the Uber driver accident thing, which was kind of a neat chat that we all had, or at least I think it was a neat chat. How are you doing, Vi? Come on. You will obey me. Come on, go in your hole. It's not going to obey me, I will not force it. Feather. What time it is? Oh, it's almost 4. Okay. In other words, Sarah needs to hurry up and get her shit done. I don't have enough nuts out here. These parts are so ghetto, by the way. Like, everything that I design in CAD is so basic and, like, popsicle stick-like during the first iteration. It's like they're, like, really flimsy and tiny and might crack very easily because everything looks bigger in CAD than it does after you print it, and I never remember that. Then again, I should really be familiar with like how large 4, 5, and 6 millimeters thick is at this point in time, so no excuses. Alright, I need to grab a couple more nuts, so I'll be right back. And I am doing fantastic, Vi. How are you doing today? Oh, you did answer. Wait, good. As I stated in Discord, I'm planning out a mechanical computer. That is cool. Is this the thing that you're writing the, no, that's not the blog post thing. This is a different thing. That's what all the talking has been about in Discord, that I like scrolled up and looked at and went, oh my god, that's a lot of discussion, and then I got scared and ran away and hid. I'm doing alright. I'm hungry. I'm gonna probably go pick up food once Mark gets back, and I'm gonna go to the fabric store and I'm going to get Plush to make a stuffed animal for myself with this weekend. So that's the plan. And then I'm gonna test this, but like I said, nuts. I need those nuts. Nuts! Oh, okay. I have my nuts. Nice little pile of nuts over there to bolt all of this down with. 3. Alright. I can start threading these through my other piece. Nuts are important. I run out of nuts first. In my kit, it's always the thing that I end up grabbing the magnet wand and then harvesting from the carpet in the workroom. Because at any given time, if I run out of hardware, I can just go to the carpet and like source like hundreds of things that have fallen and become lost in time. Oh man. Nuts are so important. But it's like almost time for that 5 o'clock beer, which I'm in spite of thinking that I've been sick for the past 2-3 weeks, I still have that 5 o'clock beer every day, pretty much. Which is dumb of me. But I don't know. I don't even think it's the beer that I want, it's just at 5, like I'll open my Pacifico and I'll go and stand outside in the backyard, and that's the ritual that I enjoy partaking in. It's not so much the drink as it is like taking the break and enjoying standing outside and listening to the birds. And I'm happy because this spring it seems like some of them have actually come back and started nesting again in some of the trees around here. I've mentioned this before, but both of the houses on either side of Mark's place have been within the recent past been torn down and rebuilt. Come on. Go in your hole. This one does not want to go on. So the birds kind of like, I used to like listening to the birds in the evenings, singing their evening song, but they all kind of disappeared because I guess this place like seems dangerous to them now because of all the construction, and most of the trees have been torn down too. There's that. This nut is an asshole. Fuck with hardware for like 500 years. But yeah, the birds seem to be coming back, which is good. Not that it matters, but it matters to me. I like having company in the evening. I like being reminded that I'm an animal and there are animals out there and we share the same space. That sounded weird, but yeah, whatever. Which way did this go again? Oh yeah. Okay. Now for the fun part. Okay, so I'm threading these feathers now in between these 2 slots right here, this one and this one, in the mask, because that is the lip that's going to be providing the actuation. So I have to kind of very gingerly shove these where they need to go, which might actually not be too big of a deal. Okay, so I just have to be careful. Okay, thread the feathers through the slot. Thread the feathers through the slot. Oh, cool. Hello, Algeria. Welcome to whatever this is. What is it? 3:45 here in Las Vegas. And it's a wonderful day to chill and make stuff over here. Your 5 o'clock beer reminds me of why I like listening to vinyl records. It's less about the music and more about my ritual of placing and producing music that I enjoy. Well, yeah, I agree. I'm on the same page with you. And who wants to live a world without... Who wants to live a life that lacks the meaning that is provided by some level of ritual? I would say it's a very important thing to have stuff that you do regularly. I don't know. It makes life feel better to me, at least. Even if it's just a 5 o'clock cocktail. I feel bad. I haven't done Margarita Monday with my mom in since January, I want to say. It's been a really long time. And that used to be our ritual. Like, every Monday we would go to the same cantina and get our drink on. And I haven't gone with her lately just because I've been busy doing like my beginning of the year stuff. But each passing year I have less and less time to actually spend with her doing our ritual stuff, and I feel bad because it is really important to me. It's just, I don't know, so is all this stuff I want to do with my life. But we were supposed to go yesterday because it was my birthday weekend, and I didn't go again. I feel like a jerk. But Margarita Monday is an important thing. I mean, I think you'd all agree. I'll probably have my nasty clam beer before I go to the fabric store here in a bit. Aw, Vi says my mom is fun. I do need to make time for her. And Lord Grease, Earl of Maggot, says that breathing is a ritual. This is true. The ritual of existing is one that I partake in very, very regularly. But no, my mom's pretty cool. She can be a bit much sometimes, but she's awesome. I forgot I took the call from her last time. Yeah, she went to the bar again today, but without me, because Mark was home doing stuff. I've been hella sleeping in like the past couple of weeks. I don't know if it's because I'm sick or like what the deal is, but like I've not been getting up early at all. And normally like the time change has the opposite effect on me in this direction, but not this time. Yeah, I'm starting to wonder if it is just an allergy thing at this point though. The rest I just have to shove in. This is so weird. You guys are like, what the hell are you doing? That's not how you should have been doing that, so it'll be fine. Okay. Oh, that's right, he has my car. Hopefully my car doesn't just, like, die while he's driving it. Oh, he's back. Okay. Cool, it didn't die. That's another thing, like, every time I need to drive my car, I have to get a jump from him because the batteries died. Because I don't drive it that often, which is horrible of me. Alright, keep shoving feathers. He's gonna come in and be like, what the hell are you doing? That looks like someone killed an artificial bird on the couch. Holy crap. It'll only be weird for another couple seconds, I promise. That's what they all say. Hi. You didn't die.
What?
You didn't die.
You didn't die, your car is clean.
Yeah.
You got smog.
You smogged me?
Your registration.
Yay. I'm making a giant, like, bird chicken mess.
Yeah.
Yeah? Get in there. Mark, what does it take to get your feathers to stay erect?
I don't know.
You don't know? No? Just gonna shove these all in there at once. Maybe? No? Fine, one at a time it is. I need food! I need to go cook something. Although I don't want to cook anything. Grilled cheese sounds pretty good right now, though. Could totally do a grilled cheese sandwich with tomato soup or something. Or curry. I want like a hearty, hot soup right now. Alright, you get in there. You get in there and you jack off that dragon. That's another ritual, speaking of rituals. For my birthday, normally I make Mark watch the entire extended version of like the first 3 Lord of the Rings movies with me. It's like a thing that I enjoy doing. And I'm not into fantasy or anything, but I only watch those movies around my birthday. And I want them all at once and all in the same day and very long and like tantric when I have them. So that's something we haven't done though in like a while. I want to say like the past 3 years I've just not partaken in that ritual, so it's like about time that it happens again. Because I miss my hobbits. I want my hobbits and elf scissors. My precious. This might be too stuffed with feathers. Okay, so let's pull a couple out. The last 3. How about that? Alright, it's better. That's the response you have when your brother gets home from work, Vi? Cool, he didn't die? Yeah. I say that just because he's in my car, and my car scares me. Oh, he's like dusting the inside of it and cleaning it. That's so nice of him. Like, I don't even do that. Like, I remember Tony's still in the room. Like, I remember I drove him someplace and the sun was setting and there was so much glare on my windshield because it hadn't been cleaned in so long that, like, I could not see shit. And, like, as soon as we got back from wherever the hell it was that we were going, he, like, marched into the shop and got, like, Simple Green out or some window cleaner shit and was, like, scrubbing my window for me so that I didn't die. That's probably what Mark's doing right now. He probably had the exact same, like, conclusion again. He's like, okay, we don't want Sarah to, like, drive this car and not see where the hell she's going. Okay, so this is fail fast, fail hard. Okay, so these ones aren't anything. So the hole isn't big enough. And the seam is too floppy. Thank you for cleaning my windshield.
Birthday.
Thank you. Yes, and no washer fluid and the wiper blades were dead, and they probably still are. What taters? Boil them, mash them, stick them in a stew?
What? Rabbits?
Hobbitses.
Hobbitses?
Okay, so I'm assessing that please granted need to be bent in the proper orientation. Okay, so dumb things that I did and didn't take account. Okay, so the first dumb thing that I did is both of the frames, like the plastic things that everything is like mounted to, like the feather mounting frame and then the slit frame, they're both the exact same size, so one actually can't fit on top of the other, which is the first dumb thing I did. But the more dumb thing that I did is some of these things need to be stiffer than they are. I mean, ultimately, plastic is a really bad thing to make mechanical stuff in. I don't know why I keep trying to, like, force that situation. Force making mechanical functioning things out of the 3D printed plastic, but it's what I've got. Okay, I'm gonna cut these ones off from there. Mark, do you want to come look at my plumage? My plumage.
Yeah.
Alright, I'm cutting 3 off on either side because, again, I did not do the right thing with the size. So that helped a little bit. So that is way beefier than it ought to be. Get rid of that the opposite direction. What? Which way? Oh God. Cheese? Are you tempting me with
for the Raptor.
the promise of cheese?
Okay. You should get it ready
The
for
what?
next door.
To go to the what?
And,
Oh yeah.
Joanne's.
I do. Okay. I'm like playing with this terrifying head apparatus. Okay, so things that it doesn't do. It doesn't slide like I want it to, and I have rubber falling out because I didn't tighten any of this stuff down. So I have two pieces that are moving like against one another, and as they kind of actually have a smaller demonstration of this, let me grab it if I can find it on my bench. I'll be right back. Is that cheddar cheese? So they're too stiff and bulky to like hold their shape anymore.
These are?
Yeah.
I would warm that plastic up and pre-bend it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So take all your feathers out.
No.
Heat up the oven to like 200. Put that in the oven for a minute. It'll soften, and then tension it to hold it. Let it cool. It'll cool in about a minute, right? And then it'll have the bow that you're looking for.
No, I mean, that's not what I'm talking about.
No.
So, no, there's two pieces here, and one is supposed to move freely over the other, is like
Right.
to like
So what's
force
the
it
problem?
back. It's too thick.
That's too thick.
So like this is supposed to be able to move back against the quill of these
Yeah.
and force all the feathers.
Yeah, you have
back.
a lot of gap in between this. I don't see how mechanical it is.
Even with like metal.
No, because the metal wants to act like a ribbon at that length, and I think it's maybe steel. You could use strips of steel. I have a couple of. It's the metal out of root wiper blades.
Okay.
They're steel, 16th inch by 8th inch straps of steel, and they're stainless steel. They don't rust. They're really strong. I've saved a couple. So I would maybe make a mechanism out of that.
So yeah, as this moves back over the quill of these, like the base, it's supposed to like. Plus, I didn't make these at all.
Yeah, that's why I was thinking that whole cap, wiffle ball cap thing is going to be more stable because it's a web, it's a net rather than this frame.
Yeah? I'm like, yeah, I'm about to have that beer. Okay, so I'm going to explain my misconceptions. Not that I need to do that, but okay, so there's effectively these two pieces. This one that's going over the feathers is supposed to stay like, it's supposed to hold its shape, but since these are so thick now that I have them all piled on the mounting point, that's not going to do what I want it to, and this is too thin and flimsy. But effectively, the way this was supposed to work is as this piece moved back, like rotated back against these feathers, it would force them flat, and then when it moved in the opposite direction, it would force them to stand up straight. But that's if these were two free moving pieces that were the appropriate size, which they're not. So I'm just like a really sad chicken right now. Mark, look. Sad chicken.
Oh, yeah, it needs some, just a little bit of bias toward the word.
Well, the thing that I was hoping is that this top piece, I was hoping that it would just literally be free formed and like it would just float on top of these. But like it's so that it could effectively do this. Because this is what it was supposed to do. Like it was supposed to just sort of like if it tilted back and forth, it would either hold them flat or make them poof up like this.
Yeah, there's too much variance in there.
Well, this is like,
I think if you had a cap that had all the feathers and then you had a web, right?
Yeah.
That pushed up underneath the feathers to make them come out. Make them move a little bit. I think that's what I would do. And have the feathers pre-laid, right? You want the feathers to lay in their natural state, like a fur or whatever, and then there's a webbing in there that pushes up against the base.
Where are you gonna go?
I'm gonna go in here.
Okay. So, I should be writing down the things that I did wrong. Okay, so these two things, these two hemispheres need to be the correct size relative to one another so that one fits inside of the other. Two, the outside one needs to be probably thicker and stiffer. There needs to be more of a gap between the two so that the feathers can actually flow, or kind of, I don't know, like, is the top portion like rotated back and forth like subtly, like it was supposed to either like suggest at the very base of the quill of each feather whether it should torque up or lay flat. So there wasn't going to be a whole lot of movement. But there are enough feathers connected to my base thing, and I probably shouldn't have just like crammed so many of them on there as I did. I think if I removed some of these, it might actually like maybe work in spite of the two pieces being exactly the same size. Maybe. So it was either going to so they're supposed to, as this slides back and forth, either make them stand up or go back. Physical objects are hard. Okay, so there's like, yeah. So in my mind, this makes sense. Even though it stand up, I can kind of see it. And there's the back. Definitely never with plastic. Okay. Anyhow. No, Lord Grease. Neither of us got around to watching the thing yet. I'm surprised Mark didn't check it out. He's usually the guy who watches stuff. Like, I never watch anything on TV. Like, I'm bad about that. Especially this past weekend. Like, we were out doing stuff like this whole past weekend for the birthday, whatever, festivities with family and friends. So, I don't know. Maybe this week, like, I will bug him because I know he wrote it down and we should check it out. Until then, I have, like, this terrifying, like, bird feather, like, apparatus to put on my head that looks like a nightmare. Yeah? It totally doesn't work. Let me see if I remove some of these. I don't want to. I kind of want to call this, like, the first iteration, and it's, like, done and it failed, and then I want to stare at it and think of how I could improve it if I made another one, like, kind of, sort of, exactly like this. But not shitty. I don't know. The mating mask. Yeah, it takes too much force to force that back. And it's plastic. It doesn't want to go. It does not want to go. It's like... There. Screw it. I'll just stay in the up position forever. Okay. Well, damn it. Alright, so before I jump to the next idea, I'm probably gonna keep banging my head over a way of articulating these in the way that I'm thinking they ought to, with like two pieces like moving kind of like against one another and either like causing them to flip up or down based on that like subtle movement. I'll probably redesign something like this. I probably won't attach as many feathers. I'll probably thicken up the pieces that need to be thicker and make sure that the two frames are the correct size relative to one another so that they actually fit over each other correctly, because right now they're not. You can kind of tell by how offset these two pieces are. They're supposed to be in alignment with each other since these are kind of like the two poles of the two hemispheres that I'm rotating against one another. Yeah. I don't know. I'm a chicken. I'm a chicken. I'm a chicken. I'm a chicken! Mark? Yeah. Oh, are you ready to go to the place? Yeah. Yeah? Alright. I'm gonna go.
You are a chicken.
I'm gonna run to, there, perfect. That's a perfect way to end this stream. Okay, yeah, I don't know. I might, depending on how Tony feels about it, stream more tonight, possibly not. But, in the chance that I decide there's some worthy progress to be made and shown, the plan for the evening is that I take this guy, which is the face of one of my friends, and I'm going to put the circuit that's going to trigger the motion, if I ever get that working, is to, I'm using a, what's the word? Not conductive. Capacitance. Another C word. I have a capacitance circuit that has little copper pads that, depending on how firmly you make contact with them, it will affect the level at which the feathers poof. Depending on whose mask is in question, those pads are going to be over certain parts of the face corresponding with certain facial gestures. So like for instance, like if I wanted to hone in on the act of smiling, like the happy emotion, I'd probably put those copper contact pads like in the cheeks where your cheek fat's likely to bunch up and make, you know, press against the mask more firmly. Since Tony's coming over later tonight and this is his face, I'm probably gonna put those pads somewhere in his forehead, so that when you make like a stern like expression kind of like this, your eyebrow meat muscles will press against those pads and then activate whatever the mask is going to do. I'm gonna play around with that with his face so that I have something to test with, and then we're gonna make the birthday cake with the dinosaurs tonight. That's the plan. I don't know if I'll be around to stream it. I might just feel like taking it easy, but cheek fat. Yes. Floofy feathers. Yes, they're my, this is my floofy feather, like, first attempt bonnet. But yeah, I mean, I guess, like, if I'm gonna put Tony's face on, which is kind of weird, so I guess the original plan for this mechanism is that the thing doing the rotation would be, whoa. Oh wow, that totally burst apart. Is it the feather thing? Oh no, that's bad. Okay, so it's popped. I'm gonna put it down then. The original intent for this was that the moving part would be a pancake stepper, like in the jawbone on either side of the mask, and the helm that did the twitchy movement to cause the feathers to stand up or flat. That part would be mounted to the gear shaft of like the stepper motor, which Mark tells me wouldn't work very well because steppers don't have a lot of torque to them. But I would need some sort of flat motor like on the side of the head to cause that bit to rotate back and forth. Since I'm not thinking that that is going to work in and of itself, he was suggesting using the winch, like some sort of like winch tightening skin method to like move a wiffle ball over a bunch of quills to kind of cause them to either poof up or lay flat, which I see like the amount of friction involved with that, like a system like that would be a nightmare to kind of work out. So I don't know. I don't know if that's going to work that much better either. The other option was to just go straight mechanical and have actual like little like loop linkages like attached to the actual mask itself, and then have little popsicle stick like teeter-totters, kind of like I use for the miniature jelly and the miniature noodle, kind of mounted on the mask that the quills are actually attached to, and then something is either flicking those up or pushing them back down, and it's just a straight mechanical thing that's acting. That's the other option, all of which I think I'm going to actually take a shot at implementing. And as I mentioned, I haven't really given up on this crazy bird thing yet. Here, let me yank these feathers out. How does it work? Oh, shit. Yeah, I gotta leave somewhat soon if I'm to get to the fabric store today. So if I detach my crazy plumage and allow this toy to burst apart. That's what happens when you don't tighten your feathers, That's okay, this can be fixed somewhat easily. Okay. hardware is here. There. I gotta screw this nut back on there. But yeah, this piece right here, the frame that was going to like force the articulation, this was going to be mounted on motors that were located at the jawbone, but that's not gonna work. Or it might still work. I need to remake this piece a little bit better, and the piece that mates to it. Okay, so that's this guy. This is gonna mount like on either side, like near the ear right here. And just sort of like either, that's the opposite. Okay, so it is either gonna twitch back or forth, but like very subtly, like this, to kind of like force those plumes either up or back. Plume. Once again, like that. But I don't know. I learned some things, so it is what it is. All right. Don't drop the mask. All right, Mark. And okay, guys, I'm gonna call the stream for now, since we're at what, 3 hours and 11 minutes, and I'm done playing with my non-functional shape. I'm gonna put this a bit more. I might be able to get some portion of this to like function. I'm just gonna have to chop it up a little bit and like screw with what I've got, but I'm not gonna do that now. But until then, I'm gonna go run to the fabric store and eat some food. So yeah. But yeah, thank you for keeping me company as always. I don't know if you're in here and you haven't hung out with us on Discord before, here's the link. Oh, you should totally stop in and hang out with us. And as always, check out my links in the description of the video. I have my personal website up there that shows all the stuff I've ever made. There's my build log, which is robotic arts. It shows like all the documentation of how I've made all of the stuff that I have in the past. And of course, just the rest of my YouTube channel with all my build logs there. But I don't know. Until either later on tonight when I make the cake and play with that capacitance circuit that I have wired up and Tony's face, I don't know, I'll see you either then or sometime this week doing whatever it is that I'm doing at that point in time. We'll probably do this mask. But yeah. Take care, and I don't know, enjoy that. Oh wait, let me get that 5 o'clock cocktail. I'm gonna go have it. So, I don't know. Cheers to you out in the ether. I'm gonna go get that now.